Hello and welcome to the Wednesday, March 26, 2025 edition of the SANS Internet Storm Center's Stormcast. My name is Johannes Ulrich and today I am recording from Jacksonville, Florida. Well, today in Diaries we do have an interesting vulnerability that I saw being exploited. It affects XWiki. Wikis, of course, are always dangerous. However, the vulnerability being exploited here is not in a feature that's commonly associated with dangers like uploading files or allowing users to edit a page. It's in the search feature. And in this case, actually, the search feature is open to remote code execution. The problem is that this particular wiki, and again, we're talking about XWiki here, is written in Java, and it does allow for output rendering transformations. The idea behind this is that part of the wiki code is essentially these templates, and then as they're being sent to the user, well, they're being parsed, and that's where these rendering transformations are being applied. But in the search feature, the search string also was subject to these rendering transformations. So if you searched for a Groovy, in this case, code snippet, well, that code was actually then parsed as the data was returned to the user, and that led to the remote code execution. The vulnerability is about a year old. I haven't seen a lot of exploitation against it. Just sort of now bubbled to the top. Early exploitations were like about in June, but only individual hits against our honeypots, which sort of didn't make it to our threshold where we sort of consider it something new and noteworthy. Definitely update XWiki, make sure that it is up to date. But again, this is an older vulnerability, so nothing that's just breaking new. And then I have a correction to yesterday's podcast. Sorry, I don't have the note from the listener who actually pointed that out anymore. But the problem was the FBI's announcement about image conversion tools that actually refer to online tools. So you're not downloading the tool here. Instead, you're uploading your image or document to a website that then does the conversion for you. The threat here is that some of these websites will basically take content from the document and exfiltrate it. But they also, when they return then the converted file, that converted file that you're then downloading may contain malware. So that was the threat here, which is something different than sort of what you usually see, and definitely more makes sense that there is this special advisory for this particular threat. And in vulnerabilities, we do have updates from VMware. This update fixes an authentication bypass in VMWare Tools. The scope is a little bit more limited here. An attacker who has normal user access to a Windows virtual machine may be able to gain administrative access to that Windows virtual machine. So not necessarily sort of a jailbreak style vulnerability. Has a CVSS score of 7.8. And again, only affects VMware Tools and only on Windows. And I think it was just last week that I was looking at some Draytek vulnerabilities that were being exploited against our honeypots. Well, looks like Draytek actually had a bad weekend, with many customers reporting that their routers were stuck in a reboot loop. So Draytek makes these routers, firewall combos, and apparently firmware update issue or something like that, it's not really specified, did cause that reboot loop. They do suggest upgrading to the latest firmware. However, with the router rebooting, that may not be that easy. It apparently is working better if you disconnect the WAN interface. And then there's also an option to update via TFTP, which in itself can be a little bit tricky to set up, but that's sort of your last resort if the update via the web application does not work. And Trend Micro released some details regarding the Microsoft Management Console vulnerability that was patched by Microsoft this month. This was one of the vulnerabilities that was already being exploited. So Trend Micro is now going over some of the exploits that they have seen as part of a ransomware and how the exploit worked. There's a particularly interesting evil twin issue here where an attacker could basically give you two snap-ins for the Microsoft Management Console with the same name, trick you into loading the not evil one, and then use that to then later execute code from the evil one. More details in the blog. It's a little bit too much here for the podcast. Well, and this is it for today. If you're living in Jacksonville, today on Wednesday, I'll be speaking over lunch at the InfraGuard meeting. I'll be going over some of the Internet Storm Center. Please register on their website for more details. On that, thanks for listening and talk to you again tomorrow. Bye.